Right, in this video, I'm going to talk about drag racing. I'm going to explain why I love drag racing, what's so good about it, and what I actually do when I drag race my bobber. I love the art of machines and I love developing things, which is probably why drag racing appeals so much to me, because it's not so much about the race, it's more about the actual development of the vehicle to make it do a certain job, to get along the quarter mile as quick as it can. And it's quite ironic really, because the better you get at it and the more money you spend at it, the less time you spend racing. I love the sights, I love the sounds, and I really love the smells. Burnout smoke is probably one of my most favourite smells in the world, along with race fuel. And I love art, and I love the art of machines and cars and bikes. And drag race vehicles are normally really bright, out there, in your face machines. And a lot of them do look absolutely beautiful. And they sound beautiful, and they go absolutely awesome. So I think for most people, drag racing is about development of the machine and the person controlling the machine, or trying to. It's also good from a spectator point of view, because you see the whole race. You see all the cars in the race at the same time, and it is exciting. The sounds, the smells, the burnouts, crashes, which unfortunately some people have, and the racing itself. It's also one of those sports that can be as cheap or as expensive as you want to make it. And from my experience of drag racing, the more serious you get, the less fun you have. Well, there's a point actually. You want to get to a certain stage so it is fun and it is fast, but you don't want to get to the point where you spend more time fixing your car or looking at your car in the pits sat on jack stands. Some of those fun times I've had drag racing is when I've had a street legal vehicle, which I drive on a daily basis. You really get to know your vehicle as well, so you know what it's capable of, and you tend to do really well on a drag strip when you're at one with your vehicle. I used to race VWs in the UK, and since I've come to Australia, I avoided the drag strip for many years because I knew that if I visited it, I'd want to build something to race, and I haven't been in a financial situation to be able to do that. But now I'm much more settled, I'm in a better financial situation, and of course the bobber vlog is what got me into racing again. Because of the development of the bobber, and I live 10 minutes from the drag strip, it seems stupid not to go and try it on the drag strip. I don't think I'm going to actually get into competitive racing again. I'm not really sure. It's not high on my list of priorities, but I really enjoy developing the bobber and taking it to the strip. What I really want to do is actually get my Beetle back on the road and actually have a drag bug as well. But that's further in the future. The bobber's more important at this stage. So I'm now going to go through what I do when I'm racing my bobber on the drag strip, and hopefully capture the essence of drag racing and how fun and simple it really is. So the first thing you need, well, you need a vehicle to race. And then you've got to actually make sure that vehicle is in good working order. No oil leaks, fluid leaks, bits hanging off, stuff like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get checked enough, and you spend an awful lot of time not racing, just hanging around, watching the tractor go up and down, cleaning the track because people have put oil down on it and stuff. And also people having their aircon turned on, sitting on the start line takes up a lot of time because people have to mop that water up. And also, you need to be wearing the right equipment. So for a motorbike, you definitely need a helmet. You've got to have gloves. You've got to have a proper jacket with long sleeves and long pants and boots that cover your ankles. You actually can get away with jeans unless your bike runs quicker than 10 seconds. I think that's what the time is. It might be a little bit slower than that. It might be 10.9 or something like that. But I'm pretty sure you can run in the 11s just with jeans on. And they don't like work boots either. But anything quicker than 10 seconds or whatever, you've got to have leathers. And where I've been running a bike at the moment at Willowbank, you have to take your helmet to be inspected. They want to make sure it's not too old and that it meets the relevant safety requirements. But it's pretty simple. Other than that, they let you on a track. They will actually point stuff out if they notice it while you're actually racing and advise you or stop you racing depending on how bad it is. But Pretty much if you've got a street legal vehicle, you're going to be okay. So I'll show you how I go about running the bobber. So first of all, I ride around the water in the burnout box so that I don't get my front tyre wet. You'll see why in a second. And then I'll roll the back wheel all the way through the water and back out again and stop on the edge of the box. This is where I stick it in second gear. Oh, of course, and before that, I've got to make sure the traction control's off. Otherwise, this happens. So the traction control's off. Now I stick it in second gear and I squeeze the front brake hard. This is why you don't want your front wheel going through the water, because if you've got water on your front tyre, it's going to push it. So I'm in second gear, the front brake's on hard. I'm not really sure what revs I give it. I think I give it quite a lot. You need to keep the revs up to keep the momentum of the wheel spinning without bogging the engine. And I actually let the clutch out pretty snappily, I believe. It's very hard to explain this because it's all stuff which is sort of fluent and comes sort of natural to me, so it's very hard to explain, and I'm not concentrating on what I'm doing when I'm doing it. But I'm in second gear and I'm pretty sure it hits the rev limiter. I don't think I'm full throttle, but not far off, and it's probably doing about 120 k's an hour while not going anywhere. Then as soon as I start to feel it grip and want to go, I let my hand off the brake, but I keep burning out, so it rolls along burning out and it looks really cool, unless I can feel it getting a little bit out of shape and I'm scared, so I'll pull a clutch in. If you get in trouble, pull a clutch in and then nothing can go wrong. Well, not too much anyway. And sometimes I'll try and sit there as long as I can, especially if people are taking photographs and stuff, because it's all about entertainment at the end of the day, and it is good fun. And you can get some good photos and footage. So right, the rear tyre's all nice and warm and sticky. Saying that, you need to pick your correct time for when you start burning out, because if you start burning out too early when actually vehicles are still on the track, it might be a while before you roll up to the start line and your tyres sort of cool down a little bit by then. So you roll up to the start line. Willowbank, if you haven't been there before, it's quite difficult to see where it is, so if you don't know where the start line is, let the other person go first and you'll see. So rolling up to the start line on a motorbike, don't go in the middle. It's really slippery because the machines that leave the most rubber on the track are the cars with their wide tyres, and they don't drive to one side leaving the track down the middle. So when you're on a motorbike, try and get onto a really nice sticky rubbery tyre track. If you're lucky enough to have a big car burn out and run in front of you, keep an eye on where it goes, keep an eye on where it leaves the line, and then make sure your bike is on one of them tyre tracks. So rolling up to the line, on the Christmas tree lights, on the lights called the Christmas tree, there'll be 2 sets of yellow bulbs on each side for each lane, and as soon as you roll up to the line, you'll put the top lights on, the top yellow bulbs. That's pre-staged. That means that the bike's on the start line, nearly ready to go. And then you roll forward a little bit more and a second set of lights are come on, and that's staged. That means your vehicle is lined up, ready to go, and when both vehicles are staged, that's when the timers start to work and they can count down and let you go. See, this is a fun bit as well. There's also a lot of skill and a lot of fun and games that can be played with the staging lights. Personally, I like to roll up to into pre-stage, and I wait for the other person to pre-stage as well. And then I try and get my bike staged before the other person is staged. That way I've got a little bit more time, and it also psychs the other person out, because as soon as they roll up and stage, that's when things start to happen. And if you can make them panic a little bit more, that's all the better for you. There's also such a thing as deep staging. That's when you're staged and you roll forward a little bit more and the actual second set of lights will go out. If you go too far, the pre-stage lights go out as well, and then you get called back to actually stage again, or you get disqualified depending upon how you're racing. And all this makes a difference with reaction times, which when you're actually racing competitively makes a big difference. So you've got a sportsman tree and a pro tree. A sportsman tree is when the yellow lights come on in succession before the green light, and a pro tree is when all yellow lights light up at once and then the green light comes on. Personally, I prefer the Pro tree because I get better reactions, but most of the time it's on a Sportsman tree. I actually leave the line as soon as the last yellow light comes on, and generally by the time of your brain doing this and the bike actually pulling away is when the green light's on. That's how I get good reaction times. If you go too soon, the red light will come on, which means you've red lit, which means you're disqualified if you're racing. You'll still get an ET and a time and everything, so if you're just testing, that's not a problem. And if you're racing and both people red light, it's the person who red lit first who gets disqualified and the other person wins. So, you're away. And now the simple bit, just ride as fast as you can and then you'll go across the finish line. Some drag strips, it's very difficult to tell where the finish line is and the timing lights are, so I tend to keep my throttle on for as long as I can really. And then you've got sort of half a mile to slow down in, which for most street vehicles is plenty. And then you turn off the track, make your way back to the pits or to the timing ticket office, however the track works, and you're done. There are actually various timing lights along the track as well, what measure your time and speed, such as the 60-foot mark, the 1/8 mile, and then 1/4 mile. And some tracks have a few in between that as well. This is really good for setting your car up so you can see exactly what's going on, or even setting up how you're riding or driving. Well, that video was a nightmare to make. It's a really good job. I enjoy editing. Oh, and the quality probably wasn't that good because my main camera's broken. I'm having to use my phone at the moment. But I've also been producing a lot more content lately because I've quit my day job to be able to do this and pursue my other online activities. So hopefully that goes well and I'll continue bringing you lots of content. I made this video because drag racing is one of those things many people see but don't actually realise how simple it is or easy it is to get into. And people sort of want to do that sort of thing, but a bit worried about how to go about it. So I made this video to show you how fun it is and try and actually capture the essence and the fun and the thrill of drag racing. It's one of those things, it can be as expensive or as cheap as you make it. And it's a very easy sport to get into. And when you really get into it, like a great man once said, it's not so much a sport, but more a way of life. I've been hitting the strip with my bike because I love developing stuff and modifying stuff, and it's a really good way to test it, especially when you live so close. It is a little bit of a problem actually trying to get track time at the moment, so I am thinking about racing competitively just to get more track time, and it is a lot of fun. I really want to get out on the track again with this Thruxton motor in and the proper gearing now I've got it sorted out, but I don't think that's going to happen because my supercharger is going to be here in a few days, and probably next time I hit the strip it will have that on it, so that'll be very interesting. So if you like what you've seen, give it a go and don't forget to like and comment. All the comments really help me and I do try and answer all of them. Luckily I'm still at a stage where I can answer them at the moment. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and of course have a great day.